I'd like to welcome everyone here to the Executive Mansion for this tree planting in honor of Safe Digging Month, recognized by Governor Pat McCrory and by governors across the United States. Present here today, we have a very diverse group of people who represent companies that provide vital services to North Carolina citizens, such as gas, power, telecommunications, and municipal services. We have representation from the NCDOT, the AGC, USIC, the CGA, and a handful of other acronyms. One of our esteemed guests today is Majority Leader from the North Carolina House of Representatives, Mike Hager. It was his leadership which helped to usher in new legislation that added multiple features to improve safety and continuity of services. The fact that such a diverse group of interests could work together to obtain consensus speaks volumes about the underground safety and damage prevention community as a whole. Every step of the safe digging process offers an opportunity to reduce risk of damage and injury, and this group of stakeholders worked long and hard to achieve the key legislation passed in 2013 under the guidance of Representative Hager and by the signature of Governor Pat McCrory on August 23rd of that year. Many of the stakeholder working group are present here today, and you guys know who you are. And there's also many here who serve on the North Carolina 811 Board of Directors. Here today are our current president, Mr. Lyman Horn from Star Telephone, Mr. Dean Yancey with Duke Energy, our previous board president, Mr. Mark Worth with SCANA Services, Mr. Chris Hunt with Huntscapes, Mr. Chris Russ with USIC Locating, Mr. Chuck Richardson with South River EMC. I don't see Justice Everett here. I'm sorry to see that he's not here, but Mr. Andy Brooks with Dominion Power is here as well. I just want to say that the Notification Center, NC811, owes a great deal to the sound leadership that has guided the ship under different names, ULOCO, NC1 Call Center, and NC811 for over 30 years. We also have members of the newly formed Underground Damage Prevention Review Board. This board is going to be responsible for providing the enforcement of the law and is populated by people appointed by the governor and selected for their knowledge and representation of 15 different stakeholders. So it is fitting to have this tree planting at the Executive Mansion because it represents more than just Safe Digging Month. This tree will stand as a testament to the hard work, partnership, and leadership that has and will continue to improve on the overall safe digging process in North Carolina. I want to thank everybody that's here for coming out. And before I turn over the microphone to Representative Mike Hager, let me quickly run over what the agenda looks like. We will have Mike Hager speak. Then Lyman Horn with Star Communications will say a few remarks as well. Alan Gray, the Director of the Utility Division and Human Resources of Carolina's AGC, will speak. Bob Kipp, the President of the Common Ground Alliance, will speak. Chris Russ with USIC and North Carolina 811 board member will discuss about understanding the marks. We will give the tree planting a nice home right here. We'll have some photo ops and then we'll have some closing remarks. With that, I'd like to turn over the microphone to Representative Mike Hager. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here today. You know, I think when Alan and I talked, and I want to recognize a couple of folks before I get started. Alan Gray and Lindsay Dowling was then my LA. She's had a promotion since then. They were instrumental of the two, probably even more instrumental to me than getting this bill on print, on the paper, and then I just took what the good work they did and got it passed. So I want to recognize those two. They did a yeoman's work and worked a lot of hours when I was at home working on my farm. They were here that summer working, so I appreciate it very much. I think we ought to give them a hand. You know, I guess I'm unique in the legislature, and I've worked both in the gas industry and the electric industry both. So I guess the whole emphasis for me when some of the folks came to me, Bill McCauley and some of the other folks came to me and said we need to do this, was worker safety. And that was the prime emphasis for me because we know we have had workers get killed across the United States and even in North Carolina, especially digging around electric lines and gas lines. So the whole emphasis for us, I think for the whole group, was providing our workers in North Carolina a safe haven to know they could work safely and not get harmed when they were trying to do their job. We had a couple issues. We had some what I call donut holes on folks that didn't, in areas that didn't go with the 811 process. And our whole effort as a group said, why are those workers any less valuable than workers that work for Duke Energy or Piedmont Natural Gas or Public Service Natural Gas? So that emphasis really pushed us to close these donut holes and make it a true safe work environment for all North Carolinians that dig in the ground. So just a little bit about the process, and then I don't say a whole lot. I know you guys are used to politicians talking a lot, but in my background as an engineer lets me be very concise with things. The process worked very, very, very well. Basically what I did was put everybody in a room and shut the door and wouldn't let them eat, wouldn't let them out until they got it done. So it worked out very well, and I appreciate what everybody did. I just ran the bill. I didn't know it was a difficult bill until they told me it was a difficult bill. And I think, Lindsay, I believe it passed almost unanimously through the House and the House chamber and the Senate chamber. That's a dedication to the work that these guys that were on the team did. It's a good dedication to what Alan has done and what Lindsay's done. So with that, guys, we just need to get on it and make this a safe work environment for all North Carolinians, and thank you for being here today.
Good morning. I see Justice Everett with ABC Utilities came. Good to see you, Justice. Doing well. I'd like to thank you. My name is Lyman Horn. I'm Executive Vice President and General Manager at Star Communications. I'm also the current President of NC 811. I went to an event a few years ago over in Goldsboro, and the mayor of Goldsboro was speaking. And we were near a major highway, and a Harley Davidson pulled up, and it just so happened the red light caught the motorcycle, and everyone who was on it just kept revving the engine, and the mayor just kind of stepped back. And he waited for a moment or two, and he finally, the light changed and the motorcycle went on, and he leaned up to the microphone. He said, "I told Ma to stay home." I'm honored and pleased to be with you today. Thank you for recognizing Safe Digging Month with this tree planting and hosting NC 811. This is my first official tree planting. I assume there have been many others. There's a lot of trees here, all right? This is a great day for North Carolina. This event is about community. More than that, it's about progress for our communities and safe practices in that progress. We all want investment and progress in our communities, but at the end of the day, we want everybody to go home safe and sound to their families. That's what we're here about today, safe progress. Thank you again for the event, and may God bless our great state and all that dig here. Thank you.
Thank you, Lyman, Representative Hager, and the Governor for letting us be here today to plant this tree and a symbol of us working together to call 811 on National Safe Digging Month. I'm not sure if this is even working right now.
I think
You got to get right on
Okay. There you go. Okay, let me get it up here.
yeah.
I'm here on behalf of the construction industry and professional excavators who dig every day in every corner of North Carolina, building our infrastructure, highways, water systems, universities, hospitals, and just to name a few. We dig with shovels, pile drivers, backhoes, boring equipment, and all sorts of things. We have to know it's critical that we call 811 before we dig to ensure the safety of our workforce and the public. When you call 811, it enables the facility operators to locate their facilities and mark them. By calling 811, facility owners marking their facilities and excavators following safe digging practices, we help ensure no one is injured by coming in contact with an underground facility when digging, and vital services like electricity, gas, telecommunications, and water are not interrupted. We are lucky in North Carolina. As we've talked about before, our legislature passed one of the most comprehensive underground safety laws in the nation. Thanks to Representative Hager's leadership, and I must say he gives Lindsay and I credit, but it was the whole stakeholder group, and without Representative Hager, we'd have never been able to do it and get a champion. And what he didn't tell you is during a contentious session last year, it went through the House without any opposition and only one vote against it in the Senate. So that's unbelievable, and congratulations to Representative Hager for helping make that happen. Part of our group, we had rural water systems, electric co-ops, contractors, North Carolina Department of Transportation, small communities, and all the way to the largest utility operators in the state and the country with Duke Energy, Piedmont Natural Gas, AT&T, Colonial Pipeline, and others. Altogether, we must have had at least 17 at the table, and then another coming in from different sides, from surveyors to the design community, everyone taking a part and pitching in. We didn't tell anybody they couldn't be there, and that was part of our success, is that we looked at every aspect and how it would affect every stakeholder and get the optimum work out of everyone. The law is already being used as a guide for similar legislation in other states. And as we continue its implementation in North Carolina, I won't be surprised if it doesn't prove to be a model on how to develop and pass effective legislation, as well as implement a successful Call 811 Before You Dig program. I also want to point out that it was an industry-government relationship that did this. It wasn't the heavy hand of government deciding what we were going to do. It was the industries working hand in hand with government. And again, we thank Representative Hager for letting that happen and allowing us to do it that way. In closing, I want to remind everyone, no matter whether you're planting a tree, installing a municipal water system, or building a high-rise, call 811 before you dig. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thanks, Alan. Representative Hager, folks, great to see you here. Very proud to be part of the CGA and proud of the work you do in North Carolina. I think that the legislation you just passed will prove to save lives in time, and that's what this is all about, people going home safe at night. I'll bring a little different dimension and talk about some numbers so Representative Hager can feel at home with his engineering background. We have 19 million sirens, no. 19 million miles of infrastructure under this great country. And when you think of that and you put in perspective, there's only 2.4 million miles of paved roads. So when you look at all the paved roads in the country, we have 2.4 million miles of paved roads, 19 million miles of infrastructure. So it's one heck of a job we've got to protect what's underground. It's a big job. Another number that's of interest is we started 2004 looking at the damages. And we estimated in 2004 that we had 700,000 excavation damages in the country. 10 years later, 2013, we had 335,000. The industry has done a marvelous job. While the infrastructure keeps on growing, we're out of the recession, we see capital expenditure increasing, construction expenditure increasing, more and more miles of infrastructure going in, yet damages are coming down. That's thanks to you folks. You're doing a heck of a job, and keep it up. The other numbers that are of interest is the number of incoming calls we take on the one-call centers. We took, in 2013, 28 million incoming requests into the one-call centers in the country. 28 million. There were 161 million tickets issued to locate. That's incredible. 161 million locate tickets issued. And at the end of the day, when all was said and done, if people called before digging, we had 250,000 damages, which brings me to the 85,000 because people didn't call. 85,000 damages that we didn't get a crack at not occurring because people did not call. So the number one thing we are still after is to get people to call. We know if you call, 99.1% of the time, there is no damage. The industry is that good. Somebody places the call, 99.1% of the time, no damage occurs. So keep it up, keep up the good work. I look forward to the day when we can publish dirt statistics on a state basis, because I think you guys will rise to the top. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I'm Chris Russ with USIC Locating. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about understanding the marks. So the process, we've heard several people discuss it this morning, is calling 811 before we dig. So there was an 811 request made for the governor's mansion for this tree planting ceremony. Our locator, as well as a locator with another utility company, got together and they made the phone call to the staff here at the mansion to get access. This wasn't like most locates where we're walking to someone's side yard and be able to do a locate. A little harder to get to this property. So they made that phone call, waited a few minutes, and they were escorted out to the site and shown where the tree was going to be planted. The locators used their records, used their locate equipment, and made note that there wasn't any utilities in conflict with where this tree was going to be. One of the new things we passed with the new law is positive response. So the excavator, in this case us, could check positive response and find out that there were no utilities in conflict and that they're clear to dig. Now, if there had been marks here, the first thing we got to do as excavators or anyone who's digging is take note that there's marks there, and then we need to positively, if that's in our dig zone, we need to positively identify what's underneath those marks. By the new law, we shouldn't put any mechanized equipment within that tolerance zone until we positively identify those facilities. But fortunately for us today, there aren't any utilities in conflict, so we're going to be clear to dig. Thank you.
So before we pull out our commemorative shovels and do that, I do want to actually read the proclamation that Pat McCrory, Governor, has announced for Safe Digging Month for 2015. So by the Governor of the State of North Carolina, a proclamation. Whereas the State of North Carolina encourages citizens to call 811 to have underground lines located prior to digging. And whereas each year North Carolina underground utility infrastructure is jeopardized by unintentional damage by those who fail to call 811 before digging, causing service interruption, damage to the environment, personal injury, and even death. And whereas in an effort to reduce damages and improve efficiency, citizens are encouraged to call the North Carolina 811 Center to request utility line location. And whereas the North Carolina 811 Center performs a public service by providing free assistance to all businesses and residents in North Carolina through education about safe digging practices and by providing a convenient means of communication between the excavating public and member utilities. And whereas excavators and citizens can save time and money by calling 811 in advance of any project, waiting the required amount of time, respecting the marked lines by maintaining visual definition throughout the course of the excavation and digging with care. And whereas the State of North Carolina joins the North Carolina 811 Center in encouraging all parties to know what's below, call 811 before you dig for safer and stronger communities across our state. Now, therefore, I, Pat McCrory, Governor of the State of North Carolina, and I'm not Pat McCrory, just want to interject that as I'm reading this out. Just want to be clear. We are standing at his home, which is wonderful. Now, therefore, I, Pat McCrory, Governor of the State of North Carolina, do hereby proclaim April 2015 as Safe Digging Month in North Carolina and commend its observance to all citizens. And in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and affixed the great seal of the State of North Carolina at the Capitol in Raleigh, the 2nd day of February in the year of our Lord, 2015, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 239th. And it has the seal. And again, we appreciate the proclamation. We've received this several years running. We've got a hallway in our office that's lined with the proclamations. And we really appreciate the fact that the governor has always recognized this for at least the last 10 years, and I want to say going back even longer than that. It's a very important mission that we accomplish, and we do it as a team, and we do it together. And we couldn't do it without all the folks that are here and many that are behind the scenes as well. So with that, if we could, go ahead and we'll get started on our tree planting, and then I'll make a few closing remarks once we've got that baby in the ground. It's a fringe tree. Should be most beautiful. Thank you.
Whoa. Impressive.
Good job. Yeah.
Woo!
I'm glad we got that on camera.
Fans domesticate.
Great word. Yes.
You want us to?
Yeah, kind of that way. Yeah. That way we can get.
Let's use me as the back right here. the back.
Yeah.
You want to move back this way?
Move the angle this way so we get a nice pretty house in the background.